How do you hold elected officials accountable? I mean, you've worked to do that, but how do you see that happening?
Well, the public has to have high expectations and high demands, and make changes when they think changes are appropriate, support those people who they think have done an appropriate job as a public servant. It's left up to the electorate to be the ultimate judge of whether their elected officials are handling their positions appropriately.
You think it's going to be possible to scrub out the corruption?
Well, you're never ever going to be able to create a society that's corruption free. That's why we have laws, that's why we have criminal courts, that's why we have jails, that's why we have regulations that are designed to really deal with the relative few and not the many. So we'll never get rid of it completely. And we're not alone in Louisiana. We're not that much different from a lot of other states who deal with issues related to public corruption. But we've made tremendous improvements, I think. And I think the quality of people seeking office today and holding office today is improving dramatically.
I think at one time Louisiana was almost a laughingstock of the political world for its corruption, and that's no longer the case.
I don't believe it to be the case. I think in the past it has been, but I honestly don't think that is the case today.
You're running for lieutenant governor. What does lieutenant governor do, or will have the power to do, for Louisiana and the citizens of Louisiana?
Lieutenant governor has a great deal of power in the sense that it's the #2 position in state government. It's the person who has to be prepared to be governor in the event that there's a vacancy in the office. So as people evaluate the two of us who are now in this race, I think they need to do so in the context of whether or not they're comfortable with that person actually becoming governor if that situation presented itself. The lieutenant governor has power when the governor is out of state. The lieutenant governor acts as the chief executive when the governor is out of state. So that too is an issue that people ought to consider as they're determining who they want to be their lieutenant governor. The lieutenant governor is responsible for running the Department of Culture, Recreation, and Tourism, the area that promotes everything that's great about Louisiana, that sells Louisiana, that markets Louisiana, that creates the face that those outside of Louisiana see when they look at our state, and that's a role that I'm anxious to fill. I've spent a lot of time promoting Louisiana, talking about Louisiana, building a positive image for our state, and I want to be in a position to do that officially as our lieutenant governor.
Well, you obviously don't see it as a symbolic position. It's more than just a positioning as a run for governor.
Well, it's much more than that. It's not a symbolic position. It's a position that has a great deal of influence on Louisiana's economic success if it's done right. And I certainly intend to do it right if I'm given the opportunity to be in that position. So it is not a symbolic position. I think it's a very important position. It's one that ought to continue to exist, and it's one that can be of great assistance to a governor in selling our state and promoting our state and helping chart the economic course of our state.
Talk to me about the film tax credits.
Well, it was an idea that was about 10 years old, and we looked at it during the Foster administration as a way to try and create a new industry, a fledgling industry in Louisiana that needed some help, and certainly the motion picture tax credit did that. It has created a marketplace for Louisiana that now competes with Hollywood and competes with other states that at the time were a lot more attractive than we were for movie making. Now we're at the top of the list. People are clamoring to come to Louisiana. They love our food, they love our lifestyle, they love our scenery, but they love our tax credit more. And they like the opportunity that it presents to be able to make a movie in a successful setting in a way that's economically advantageous to the investors. And it's created thousands of jobs. It's brought millions of dollars to Louisiana, and finally it is creating a support infrastructure of Louisianians to service the industry, and that was the ultimate objective, that we not have to bring people in from outside of Louisiana, that we cultivate that industry from within, and that's starting to happen.
What would you like to see done differently about state government?
I'd like to see us once and for all prioritize the way we spend money, determine what's really important to us and do it right. And recognize that when we do that, we're not going to be able to do everything that we're doing now. And that's going to be painful for a lot of folks who have gotten used to state government doing everything that it's been doing heretofore. The fiscal reality that now faces the state, I think, requires us to have to undertake that that prioritization process. And that's what I'd primarily like to see us do different.
Towards the upcoming election, what do you think is happening statewide? Do you see any trends going on, any obvious things that...
Well, Louisiana has become a very conservative state. You look at our congressional delegation, you look at our statewide elected officials, you look at the makeup of the legislature, we have been trending and tending very conservative in recent years, which is a very good thing, and I hope that that will continue. There's a very sharp distinction between me and my opponent in this election for lieutenant governor in terms of our records, our philosophy, the people who support us, and I hope that people will look at us and make that comparison and determine that in order to continue the appropriate fiscal ways that we're now on in Louisiana, that I'm the person to make sure that happens.
What would you like to see different about the Republican Party? Newt Gingrich is talking about making sure the party includes everyone, that no one should be excluded based on sexual orientation or race or gender or on any disqualifier like that. Thoughts, considerations?
Well, there ought not to be disqualifiers as far as I'm concerned based upon a desire to be a part of a political party. I've always ascribed to the notion that began during the Reagan years about a big tent and about the concept of the Republican Party growing its strength and its numbers by appealing to a larger number of people. And I think that's the trend within the party, and I think that's where we have to go. That's where we're going to have to go as a party to continue to grow. When you look at national elections and you look at national debates, by and large, there's a segment of the population that is not that large that is the swing factor. And both parties, I think, recognize the need to try and become attractive to that swing voter who can help carry the day. And fortunately or unfortunately, depending upon your perspective, national politics has become extremely partisan. And to the extent that a party is able to articulate a philosophy that is more attractive to those people in the middle, I think that party is going to be able to have more success. And I look for the Republican Party to grow exponentially in the next elections coming up because of the discord and dissatisfaction that exists in America based upon the direction that the President seems to be taking us.
Do you believe that the Republican Party can control its spending to get, instead of being the party that says, yeah, let's raise taxes, but not that much, when the Democrats say let's raise taxes, to the party that says, what do we need the taxes for anyway?
Well, I think it better do that. I mean, I think that's what the people are going to expect if and when the Republican Party gains control again in the national specter, because one of the reasons why I think the current president, was able to meet with some success was because of some dissatisfaction at what President Bush did from an economic standpoint. I think he was a great leader for America at a time when we needed a strong leader, and he was that. But I think the Republicans, as they gained power in Washington, failed to rein in spending, failed to rein in debt, and that led to Obama's success. I think when Republicans regain control, I hope they will have learned from that era and do things a little bit differently, and I think they will.
Do you think that we can swing the mood of the country back to an individualism, I can, on an individual basis, as opposed to I'll let the state help me?
Yes, I think we can. And I think we should.
I was looking for a longer answer there, but that's
well,
fine.
I'll give you a little bit of a longer answer. I think there is an entrepreneurial sense in the American spirit of wanting to take charge of their own destiny and create an economic marketplace that can be successful without government interference. It's that entrepreneurial spirit that needs to be tapped once again in America. And it crosses party lines, it crosses racial lines. It's a spirit that all Americans have, and it's that can-do attitude that I think is important with the right people at the top and the right people in positions of leadership, creating an environment where that can happen and convincing people that the answer is not to be dependent upon government or someone else to take care of them, but to have a playing field that gives them a fair chance to be successful on their own. And that's where I hope we'll go in America.